So we were talking about careers, and I said that to get a good hike, you either need to switch, change the job or the company. That's one way, and the other is you don't actually do it, but the prospect of you doing that makes your current company make you a very good offer or a good hike. So there is negotiation involved, and negotiation is a skill. Uh, Negotiation is a technique. I'm not very good at negotiation. There are books written on negotiation, but negotiation is about power, bargaining, and if you are desperate, you don't have power. So there are two parties involved in a bargaining or negotiation. The one who is more needy, more desperate, doesn't have the power, so he can't negotiate well. If you want to negotiate well, you should not be very needy or very desperate, or you should at least show that you are not needy or desperate. And you should have patience and time on your side. If you are in a hurry, then you will not necessarily make the best deal. So it's about power, about patience, about time, about information, knowing about the other side, knowing about what their stand is going to be, why it is so. So you can negotiate better if you have information about know what is going on in the other party's mind. It's patience and it's power, and it's not being desperate or needy, you know. So these are the things that would help you in getting a good deal. Now, generally, uh, let's talk about. I mean, when we are talking about careers, it is possible that one could have two, three innings in one's life, so to speak. People say life is short. It's not true. Life is pretty long. Maybe for some it is short, but generally life is long, and sometimes you get a chance to do two, three things in your career. First, maybe you are working for somebody else, or because of some duties and responsibilities, several years you spend doing that. Then you get a chance to do what you actually want to do without the pressure of looking after your family and all that. When you have sufficient money or don't have too many responsibilities and all that. So maybe it is possible to have two, three mini careers in a long life, two, three different kinds of careers, or two, three innings. If you're lucky, you may get to do two, three different things. You may get to do those experiments a bunch of years doing this, another bunch of years doing something else, another bunch of years doing something else, and with different ideologies and different priorities. Maybe sometimes money is the priority, the next time money is not the priority, all those things. So it's possible to, it can happen at any stage, even midlife. It could happen midlife also. So, and it has happened to people. So it's not necessary that you got into something and it's going to be a unidirectional thing till the time you retire, or till the time you call it a day, and till the time your professional life continues or it's over. So you could have two, three kinds of innings, so to speak, or stretches or spells in your career. And nowadays, again, if we talk about the fashion or trend part of it, becoming an entrepreneur or doing it on your own or starting your own business, keep giving up a full-time job and becoming independent is in vogue, but it's not for everybody. You have to, it has to make business sense. Don't do it because others are doing and everybody is talking about it. If you are going to do it, you try to see to it that whatever venture that you think you are going to do or you want to do is going to have a chance to succeed. Customers, demand, supply, having necessary funding, being able to compete, being able to produce, all there are many variables here. Producing something or whether it is a product or a service, finding a market for it, being able to sell it, being able to sell it at a profit, competing, surviving, growing. All there are challenges in every aspect: production, human resources, competition, government regulations, employees, everything, finance, ups and downs. So it's not for everybody. Some succeed, some don't. Failure is very much a possibility, so you have to keep it in mind. Just go for it and give it your best and you won't fail. Not true. People do fail. So failure is a distinct possibility, and probability is also high. So you have to think about it carefully. It's a risky thing, so think about it. And there is stress, there is anxiety because of financial, when the business is not doing well or you don't get cash flow and all that, and you have to pay salaries or survive and all that. Stress and anxiety of all things. And there is loneliness because the person running the business or the entrepreneur is basically, he's the boss, he's the CEO. So there is a lot riding on you. So you are on your own basically. So the stress level, the anxiety level is high, and loneliness is definitely going to be there. So that is also one option. Maybe in one spell you could do that if you are lucky, or sometimes people work and then become businessmen. Some people get experience and then start their own business and they continue. Sometimes people work for a long time, get into entrepreneurship, doesn't work out, maybe go back to regular employment, even that happens. So anything goes here. So that is also there. Life is long generally. I mean, for some people it may be short, unfortunately, but generally life is long. And it is possible that if you have a long life, a long professional life, you would have 2-3 spells where you could try out different subsections of career, and 2-3 mini careers within the overall professional life that you have. Finally, let's talk about what generally makes for a good employee. I mean, here we are talking about full-time employment, and to do well in your job, I'm talking about the standard qualities that people look for. Basic things, I mean, that every employer wants. He wants people who are enthusiastic, who have a positive attitude, uh, who are team players, who can put their ego aside, uh, who are loyal, yes, who are dependable, reliable, and he can trust and rely on them. And when he entrusts them with something, he knows that he can trust them with it and they will do the job. Who give him feedback on what's happening and all that, who keep him in the loop, who are respectful, who are obedient, uh, regular, sincere, punctual, uh, don't indulge in absenteeism, don't take leave or very few days of leave, who are professional in the sense that they don't give commitments that they don't keep. If they make a promise, then they deliver. So under promise and over delivery is better than over promise than under delivery. Who don't say no when he's looking for somebody to take up some assignment, and if he asks you to do that and if you just say no or give excuses, he's not going to like that. So people who don't say no. And so essentially good soldiers, right? That is what they are looking for, with good manners, good etiquette, good grooming, dress code and all that. So as I said, good soldiers. And secondly, to do well, you should also let people know that you are doing a good job. Your bosses should know. If you believe that you will just be a silent performer and you will be rewarded and appreciated, and it's a job of your boss or the organization to really find out what you did, you are not going to talk about it. That won't work. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. You have to be clear. You have to be careful that your work and your performance gets noticed. Sometimes, I'm not saying about unnecessary showing off, but at least they should know that they should be aware of what you are doing and what you are achieving. Sometimes the system is not, the performance appraisal or whatever it is doesn't capture what you have done. So you should always try to see to it that you create a good impression. I'm not saying brag about it or something like that, but don't assume that it is on the other side's job to look. I mean, ideally it should be the boss's job or the employer's job to see that you have done, whether you have done well or are doing well or not, or performing well or not. Your job is also there to communicate in one way or the other, directly or indirectly, that you are doing a good job. Otherwise you will lose. If they don't notice and you are unable to make them notice, then you will lose. It is not just, but that is how it works. So that's important. Now, these are the standard requirements or traits. Of course, people do talk a lot about other things, and all companies and have their own things. We are looking for people with creativity, initiative, innovativeness, this, that, and the other. Many things they will say. But whether they actually mean it or not is important. What I have mentioned are all generally everybody wants these things. When they talk of other things, sometimes they just pay lip service to it. They don't really mean it. That is just something that they say. They put it on paper even, or they talk about it. But then when you actually show those traits and those characteristics, they may not like it. There would be insecurity. Even a boss could be insecure. He may not like some things in his subordinates, though he will say officially he will not say that, but unofficially, internally, he is insecure, he is jealous. There is jealousy, there is insecurity, there is rivalry, there is fear, all sorts of things are there. So some things like creativity, innovativeness, taking responsibility, leadership, and all that, they will talk about this. But that is nice, but they just talk about it. Do they mean it? That is what one has to find out. What I've said are generally good soldiers. Everybody wants good soldiers. Apart from that, if they want something, they would even say that. But do they actually mean it? Varies from company to company, employer to employer, boss to boss, and situation to situation. So that you have to be careful. They may say we want people with initiative and creativity, but when you try to do that, show that, they may not actually like it internally, or they would not be open about it, but they might feel, somebody might get jealous, somebody might feel insecure, his ego might be hurt, somebody thinks this guy is too smart. So those kinds of things are there. So you have to be careful. People do not always mean what they say. And try to have a good rapport or relationship, communicate, try to have a good line of communication with your superiors, and generally maintain good terms and good relations with your superiors. These are generally what one should have or should do to advance in a career, in employment. On your own, when you're talking, apart from that, as I said, there are many things, but these are the standard things, minimum basic minimum requirements. Over and above that, there are lots of things, but they vary from place to place, and whether they are actually there or they are just mentioned but not actually followed upon. So that's what I said. And when it comes to entrepreneurship and all, it's an entirely different game where many other things come into play, as I said. And so I'm talking about more about a formal job in which, if you want to advance, the traits that you must show or you must possess, and the behavior that you must exhibit. So I hope this has been useful. Thank you.